seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me.
All right. What is it? Tuesday night? Tuesday night already. Where does the time go? It goes somewhere. I'm getting older. I noticed that. When was the last one? Sunday? So that's 2 days closer to death. But not this day. Not this day. All right. We got lots to talk about tonight. How's everybody doing? Who we got? We got Spam Bot. We got Rosie. How you guys doing? All right. Who got the first like? We got us and them in there as well. Good to see you. We got JJ Nevada in the chat. Good to see you. Applause for everybody all around. Happy Tuesday, Rosie. How you doing? Let's see. All right. So, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Let's go through the menu quickly. So, I think that 60 Minutes does this piece on the German police, on Germany's speech laws, where they just arrest people for like insulting other people online. 60 Minutes seems to think it's great. They're certainly not going very well in Germany as well, but everywhere. These people just seem like enemies of the people, don't they? Germany just seems determined to be I don't know what they need. They definitely need that, though. We'll talk about some DOGE. We got some DOGE stuff going on. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some stuff to do with Trump. This one is also talking about the 60 Minutes breathtaking anti-free speech propaganda segment. Guy Benson's talking about that. Oh, here we go. So Dana Bash, I have not watched this. I'll be watching this with you for the first time. Biden 2020 voters who switched to Trump in 2024 tell CNN they like what Trump is doing. Let's see, transparency, eliminating waste and fraud, securing the border, deporting criminals. Why would this be so shocking, so surprising to CNN? Because those are like sane things that normal people in a sane society like. Mark Carney, this guy, the more Canadians get to know this guy, the worse it's going to get. Still, most Canadians don't know who the hell this guy is. Most Canadians still couldn't name him if you showed a picture. But we'll go over his insane gibberish. He's not even making sense at this point at all. Like it just sounds like he's speaking utter gibberish. He doesn't even know what he's talking. It's just things that kind of sound progressive and good for a smooth-brained person. We'll talk about that. I've got a bunch of Trudeau memes, and this is fun. Trudeau memes are good. Everybody hates Trudeau, right? It's not just me, right? I'm not the only one, right? I don't think that I am. All right. Then what do we got? Canada, are we the beachhead for World War III? So this guy is talking about China is using Canada as a proxy. It's no secret that the U.S. is concerned about what Canada is doing about Canadian national security and the relationship with China. He's going to talk about that. I'm going to move this up there. There we go. And then we have the last tab, and it's just a bunch of mishmash stuff. You know what? I forgot to check the messages on the DMs on Twitter. I should really check. I'll check that out at some point. What's going on here? I haven't even watched this. I don't know. I think it's going to be weird, though. I think it's going to be really weird. Probably something like this.
I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Just like in The Thing. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we've got that. We're going to talk about this. We're definitely going to talk about this. Brian Lilly says, this is insane. We're going to get into that. That is the Germany stuff. I guess I've got it in two places. But, yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure. And a bunch of random stuff. So there we go. Let's get to the chat quickly, and then we will get stuck in. All right, what's going on? Let's see. What are you guys saying? What's going on? Rosie says 2 days closer to death. Really? Literally, it is. Whatever that is. I'm hoping a long time in the future, but it is literally 2 days closer. I mean, I'm not trying to be depressing here, but that's real. It's reality. In the West, we have to come to terms with reality if we want a sane society. And all I'm saying is that every second that passes, we're 1 second closer to death. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's move on. Let's move on from that. Rosie says, I was better before you said that. You have to laugh or else you'd be crying. Let's see. Us and them says, Trugina. They call him Trugina because he's a man, but also, as they say, he's also a vagina. In Canada, they don't like him. They don't like him. Nobody likes him. He's a loser. He is, and everybody hates him. And that's the truth, and that's the tooth. Spoundbot Fodder says, please, for the love of all that is good, no more whales. I promise nothing. Let's see. Spoundbot says, now to the gate rumble is lagging. I guess you got to refresh the page or something. I don't know. I don't know, man. Let's see. Spambot says, X is up to speed. Rosie says, Trugina. Trugina memes? Yep, we're going to have those. Those are fun. They're fun because everybody hates him so much. Let's see. Oh, dear. Smith & Wesson retirement plan. That's depressing. That's depressing. Rosie says, that's a foolish and selfish plan. Yes, I would agree. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Bad plan. Let's see. It's even worse than the old Yeller plan. And Spambuff Fodder agrees that it is foolish. Of course, because we're all sensible, sane people here. All right. It's time to get started. So, J.D. Vance said this, and he was responding to this 60 Minutes piece. Insulting someone is not a crime, and criminalizing speech is going to put real strain on the European-U.S. relationships. This is Orwellian, and everyone in Europe and the U.S. must reject this lunacy. Lunacy, he says. Well, let's take a look. Let's see. What's he talking about? So, Germany is determined to just be an authoritarian state. They tried it with the National Socialists. I think they're just going to go full North Korea now, actually. But they just seem determined. I think we need to just build a wall around Germany. I think the world just needs to build a wall around Germany, like Berlin Wall 2, but all the way around Germany. And they can just stay in there with their authoritarian. On the internet, it sticks around for. He sounds like he's like Swedish, but he's in Germany. On the internet, the insult is always there. When I put up my video of myself in my diaper with my black turtleneck sweater on, listening to techno music, doing weird things with the prostitute, it stays up there forever. I think techno music did it to them. I think it rotted their brains. They all laugh. Look at this 60 Minutes journalist is thrilled by this, by the way, and they all just have a good chuckle because somebody said something naughty on the internet and they took his devices, his phone away. She thinks it's wonderful.
Keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
She probably asked, so if there's like a 60 Minutes Germany, then nobody could criticize them? Oh my God, that sounds wonderful. That's heaven. Anyway, let's continue on with the Fourth Reich. 60 Minutes loves this. This is how you know that they hate you. This is how much you know that as much as you hated the mainstream media before, you don't hate them enough. You don't distrust them enough. You should never listen to them. I mean, she's absolutely thrilled by all of this. She's thrilled. I have to watch this again.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
How do people react when you take away their fundamental human rights? They're shocked. Oh, they're so shocked. It's hilarious. Fourth Reich.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
Like, she couldn't be happier about this. She could not be. She is thrilled.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked.
Papers, please. 9. You know, here's the thing. They should be just talking like this. They should have to say it in Hitler voice. Everything, because this is all just fascism. Fascism. Look at, they're laughing. They think it's hilarious. How do they feel when you take away their basic human rights? Oh, not happy. What about the camps? They didn't mention anything about camps yet. And the beautiful thing is, too, of course, it's all about hate, right? It's all about hate. And somebody did a racism, right? Which is so, I'm sure in Germany, is so broadly defined, it just means anything they don't like. What is this really about, though? Let's say, I know that they want to ban the AfD, the popular anti-immigration party in Germany. Why would they be popular? The anti-immigration party. Let's see. Below is a list of notable terrorist attacks in Germany. Oh, they have those over there. Oh, I didn't know that. Over the last 10 years, where the perpetrators were immigrants, including asylum seekers, refugees, or individuals with migrant backgrounds. Let's see. Munich car attack, February 13th, 2025. That's when J.D. Vance was there and talked to them and chastised them over their totalitarian free speech laws. Afghan asylum seeker deliberately drove a car into a crowd in Munich, injuring at least 36 people, including a toddler. Let's see. Here's a stabbing January 22nd, 2025. Knife attack in Chantal Park, Aschaffenburg, resulted in the deaths of a 2-year-old boy of Moroccan descent and a 41-year-old man who intervened. 28-year-old Afghan man, asylum seeker with a rejected claim, previously detained for violent behavior, living in asylum accommodation. 2 people killed, 3 injured. None of this would make people angry. Magdeburg Christmas market attack, December 20th, 2024. This is all just in the last few months. Black BMW SUV plowed 400 meters through a crowded Christmas market in Magdeburg, killing 5 people, including a 9-year-old, and injuring over 200, with at least 41 critically wounded. 50-year-old Saudi citizen arrived in Germany in 2006, recognized as a refugee. Solingen stabbing, August 23rd, 2024. During a music festival in Solingen, a Syrian asylum seeker stabbed multiple people, killing 3 and seriously injuring several others. Syrian. Let's see. Mannheim knife attack, May 31st, 2024. Afghan migrant, 1 killed, 4 injured. So, I wonder if the people of Germany, the sane people of Germany, have any concerns about this stuff. I don't know. What else do we have here? Of course, it goes on for a long time. Let's see. General employment trends for refugees. For those who arrived in 2015, the employment rate reached 64% by 2022, implying an unemployment rate of approximately 36% for that cohort after 7 years. For newer arrivals, 43% unemployed. I wonder if that's a burden on the taxpayer at all. So that's what this is all really about. People are accurately describing reality, and they're not liking it. And of course, the fascist German authorities of apparently the German Fourth Reich are not happy about it. That's a problem. So reality is a problem. So ban reality. That's what leftists do. How many times have I said that they're not trying to fit their ideology into the world? They're trying to fit the world into their ideology, and they will break the world. They're happy to break the world in the process. That's what this is. Total and utter insanity. And you add on top of that, this laughing, this harpy.
Their phones from them.
Why is she so happy? Does she want to get her phone taken away if she says the wrong thing? And is this the America that she dreams of? It's wonderful how they take away people's phones for saying things that the wannabe totalitarian government doesn't like. It's wonderful how they take people's phones away and charge them and fine them for saying things that aren't radical left.
They are shocked.
Jesus. It's just weird, isn't it? Like, do they not see the irony here? I mean, Germany has a little bit of a past, right? Do they not see the irony here? Apparently they don't. Apparently, again, it just seems like Germany just wants to be an authoritarian state. They just want to be ruled by dictators, I guess. Although that's not really true because, you've got the AfD, which is becoming very popular in Germany. I guess it's the ruling class in Germany. It just has that proclivity towards, totalitarianism. Obviously. Let's see. Nevada says that smirk on her face as she asks. It's so inappropriate, is it not? It's so incredibly inappropriate. Where was she again? Oh, there we go.
Fine, and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take?
Like, that is totally. I mean, this should be shocking to her. She's supposed to be a journalist. This should all be deeply concerning and worrying, right? She should see, her life as a journalist should flash before her eyes when she sees stuff like this. I mean, journalists should rail against this. Don't they understand that, like, they can't act? Well, you know what? Here's the thing. She's not a journalist. None of them are journalists. They're all just propagandists at this point, pushing a narrative. They're not interested in the truth, not interested in informing. They're just interested in propagandizing and framing things. That's it. I mean, it genuinely is just freaky. Orwell was right. Like, it's chilling. Like, do they not understand how chilling it is? Colin Rugg, 60 Minutes joins German police as they raid a man's home for sharing a racist cartoon online. J.D. Vance was 100% right about Germany, and the buffoons in the media acted like he was crazy. 60 Minutes, is it a crime to insult people online? German prosecutors, yes. Papers, please. Back to J.D. Vance. Insulting someone is not a crime, obviously, and criminalizing speech is going to put real strain on European-U.S. relationships. This is Orwellian. It 100% is, and everyone in Europe and the U.S. must reject this lunacy. This is what Trudeau wanted to bring and what Mark Carney will try to bring. Let's see. Should we watch this one more time? Just this utter lunacy. Here's Margaret Brennan. I mean, again, when you hear this, right, you remember just how bad these people are. When you see this, it's so clear and stark just how transparently fraudulent these institutions like CBS News, ABC News, NBC News, MSDNC, CNN, it's just so clear and stark what a load of frauds they all are. Because how can anybody be so stupid? I don't care if her producer handed her a page and said, "This is what you believe now, and you have to say this." Like, who would be willing to? Who that knew any better would be able to humiliate themselves? Would be able to humiliate themselves? Be so willing to humiliate themselves on national television? It's just baffling.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups.
By the way, the AFD doesn't want to censor everybody. They're not the ones arresting people for insulting someone online, right? Who's the far right? Who's the far right again?
Context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay,
I don't really care, Margaret.
To be willing to be live on national television and say that blame free speech for the Holocaust is so insane that, I mean, can she really believe that? I mean, is she that dumb? That's the question. Is she really that stupid, right? And I said in the last stream, right, let's be generous here and say that she's talking about the Weimar freedom of speech in the Weimar Republic allowed the Nazis to spread their message and get in. But then you're just condemning any free speech or democratic elections anywhere. So what's the point? Is her point that, no, you just have to live in a far left authoritarian state, and that's just the way it is? And forget about your rights. If you have rights, well, then somebody could come along that will take your rights away. So let's just get rid of them right now, I guess. What is the point? Can you imagine getting on national television and saying something so insane, so embarrassingly inane? I hope they're paying her a lot. They must be paying her an awful lot to get up on national television and say that. God, it's like clown world, right? It really is. It's clown world. It's just beyond. It's weird, right? It's actually just weird. All right. So let's move on. Actually, let's get to those other clips down here. Let's see if, because I had a couple hidden over here. I don't know what they're doing over here, but let's take a look. Was there something at all different in here? Brian Lilly said, this is insane. Can you imagine a politician who wouldn't be guilty of breaking these laws? Insulting people online. CBS interviewer, is posting an insult a crime? German prosecutors, yes! CBS interviewer, is it a crime to repost a lie? German prosecutor, yes! Ja! Yet what politician wouldn't be guilty of breaking these laws? Oh, by the way, the Germans have actually made it illegal to insult politicians online too harshly. Like, you can't call them an idiot, for instance. That's real. That's real. This is dystopian, right? They are heading straight for 1984. All right. All right, let's move on. Let's get actually to the chat, because I know you guys are going to have something to say about this. Just lunatics. Let's see. Rosie says, my fave movie clip about DMV is in Zootopia. Have you seen it? That I think I actually did see, years ago. And I think you're right. I think that was a good scene. I think I vaguely remember something about that. Let's see. Rosie says, well, D, we're all criminals. How often do we insult each other in chat, especially those in the news? I know. In Germany, we'd be in big trouble. And the Liberal Party of Canada, if they get back in again after the next election, will absolutely... Trudeau was in the process of doing that. Probably the most dystopian, actually worse than the German law, because the Bill C-63, which is gone now. Of course, if the Liberals get back in after the election, if they win the next election, they'll resurrect that in a second. That has pre-crime. So if you insult somebody online and they're offended, you can be arrested. A judge can order you to be arrested and convicted for something you haven't done, that you might do something in the future. They're worried that you might do something, and then give you 12 months of house arrest. And if you don't like that, well, you can go straight to prison. That was in Bill C-63. Pre-crime, pre-hate crime, which I do think that holds the record so far for the most dystopian. Fortunately, it hasn't gone through, but Nevada says, I don't care, Margaret.
I don't really care, Margaret.
She really is an idiot, Margaret Brennan. She'll just say anything for money, it appears. Nevada says they were socialists. Well, I think that the National Socialists were socialists. Yeah. I think that's why they called themselves that. Commies try and pretend that they weren't. They were. Let's see. Let's see. Nevada says, Marco is making me proud. Rosie says, absolutely on spot. Marco Rubio, travesty that she says she does not know. Rosie, I don't care, Margaret. Nevada says he's been very statesmanlike. Rubio's been great, actually. He's so measured, extremely articulate. He's been great. Let's see. Nevada asks, fact check, what year did American women start shaving their armpits? Actually, that's interesting.
Fact check.
Okay, 1 second. Be right back. Okay, let's see what Croc has to say. American women began shaving their armpits around the early 20th century, with the trend gaining significant traction in the 1910s and 1920s. It's just a good idea. This shift was largely influenced by changing fashion and cultural norms. A key moment came in May 1915 when Harper's Bazaar featured an advertisement showing a woman in a sleeveless dress with shaved armpits, promoting the idea that underarm hair was unfeminine and unhygienic. Well, it is. This was tied to the rise of sleeveless dresses and a growing marketing push by razor companies like Gillette, which introduced the My Lady Decollete razor in 1917 specifically for women, and they really did a great service to the world with that. Before this, body hair removal wasn't a widespread practice in the U.S. for women. Armpit shaving was virtually unheard of in the 19th century. The trend solidified through the 1920s as Hollywood and advertising further normalized it, aligning with broader shifts in beauty standards. By the mid-20th century, it was a common expectation for American women. Well, here's the thing, right? The first ladies' razor was made available in 1917, and they all immediately did it because they wanted to all along. It wasn't available yet. Gillette did a great service to men and women, man and womankind. The second that they introduced that razor, every woman went and bought one. Obviously, like, finally, we can deal with this. It's gross. Rosie says, yeah, the flappers in photos had smooth armpits. Exactly. Let's see. But they still had huge bushes. Right up until, I guess, about the 80s. All right. Where are we next? All right, I guess we'll keep going. Let's see. Betty Johnson, wow, President Trump goes off for 4 uninterrupted minutes listing off woke, insane projects that your money has funded. Here's a little glimpse. 10 million towards circumcisions in Mozambique. Who knew? What a crazy thing. All right, let's see.
Where's the money being spent, right? Let's go into that for just a second. $520 million for a consultant on the environment. It's called Environmental, Social, and Governance. Investments in Africa and mobilize private sector resources. $520 million. Somebody got 500.
So 520 million for ESG, environmental social governance, right? Which is what they use to, what BlackRock uses to extort concessions from corporations. So 520 million for ESG in Africa. I say ESG in Africa is none of the United States taxpayers' business.
$20 million for an environmental, sounds like an environmental study. I've always been one that paid a lot of money for my environmental studies, but I paid like $50,000, not $520 million. $520 million for ESG. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and promote licit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior in the country of Colombia. Well, it's nice. $25 million going to Colombia for something that nobody ever heard of. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. 40 million. 42 million.
Sedentary migrants? What? Sedentary? Does that mean lazy? I don't know. I'm not an expert.
$1 million for Johns Hopkins, great place to research and drive.
Well, what's happening with the sedentary migrants? They're watching soap operas. They're eating Cheetos, watching soap operas right now. Give them 42 million.
Social and behavior change in Uganda. 42 million. What about us? What about social change in our country? $70 million for a center at Purdue to research university-sourced, evidence-based solutions to developmental challenges. I mean, these are massive numbers on things that nobody ever heard about. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions. $10 million for circumcisions in another country. $9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills. In other words, let's teach them something about enterprise. What about our people?
Well, again, what does Cambodian enterprise have to do with the American tax? How is it? Whose business is this?
We teach them about enterprise. $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, which is a very liberal group of people. Wonder how much of that money came back to the people that approved it. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Well, why are we giving $21 million to India? They got a lot of money. They're one of the highest taxing countries in the world in terms of us. We can hardly get in there because their tariffs are so high. I have a lot of respect for India. I have a lot of respect for the prime minister. He just left, as you know, 2 days ago. But we're giving $21 million for voter turnout. It's voter turnout in India. What about like voter turnout here? Oh, we've done that, I guess. We did 500 million, didn't we? It's called the lockboxes. $20 million for fiscal federalism.
I mean, if they were to give them millions of dollars to teach them how not to give everybody food poisoning, that'd be worth it.
In Nepal. Listen to these numbers. This is all fraud. $19 million for biodiversity conservation. in Nepal, $1.5 million for voter confidence. We want to give them confidence. In Liberia, $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa, $47 million for improving learning.
They shouldn't be giving any money to South Africa, not with what they're up to, not with what passing laws so that they can just take white farmers' land without compensation. No money should be going to South Africa. It's basically on the verge of being a failed state right now because of the horrific leadership and corruption there.
Outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well. They're doing a lot better than we do in the schools, aren't they? $2 million to develop sustainable recycling models to increase socioeconomic cohesion among marginalized communities in Kosovo and Eskali and in Egypt. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. I could, by the way, I could read this all day long. I could go on all day long, and you'll see hundreds of billions of dollars. Where's the money?
Do you know what I want to do? Let me see if I can pull up Global Affairs Canada. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. Hold on. That's not the right page. That's not the right page. Hold on. How about this one? Hold on 1 second. All right. Here we go. So what have we got here? Find projects by using the text box or so this is Global Affairs, International Assistance Projects by Global Affairs Canada. Used to be Foreign Affairs, but global obviously sounds more like globalism, so Trudeau changed it to that. So what have we got here? Actually, hold on. Let's see. It says country here. Well, let's just go through random countries. Algeria. Do we give anything to them? Let's see. So we gave $1 million to Algeria. United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Okay. Let's just random countries. Like, what are just some random countries? How about Brazil? Do we give anything to Brazil? Trudeau's been very, very generous on Canadians' behalf. Let's see. Students for Development, 20 to 24. There's $9 million there. Regional capacity building for North Korean sanctions implementation, 1.5 million. I'd say that North Korea is really none of our business. I think North Korea has made its mind up. What else do we got here? Let's find another country. Let's see. What about Cuba? Trudeau's got to be giving some money to the commies. And of course, let's see. There's 60 million apparently. What is all this stuff? University part. What is this 60 million thing? What is this? Canadian College Partnership Program? Global Affairs Canada. Country region. Oh, so I see. So it's all of these countries. policy marker, gender equality, of course, environmental sustainability, participatory development and good governance. Let's see. Climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation. All right. So this is Trudeau giving away $60 million to spread his values, his ideas to the rest of the world. I'd say all of these countries here are none of our business. None of our business at all. Hold on 1 second. One second. What's this one here? Nope. All right, hold on a second. What's this? Canada's feminist international assistance policy. Well, Trudeau is the bestest feminist ever. Didn't you know? Feminism in the rest of the world is none of our business, and we shouldn't be trying to inflict it on the rest of the world anyway. What's going on here? I just want to see how much money they're spending, how much money they're wasting. Let's see. It's really long. All right. It's not going to tell us how much. Let's move on from this. I don't have the patience tonight. All right. Turtle says Brazil is run by vampires. I believe it. As in them says, would be faster to look up countries we don't support. Probably. A lot of it, too, is like CIA front group stuff, right? Influence operations. It's not actually there for the things they say it is. Rosie says, Venezuela, another place that takes your phone. Yep, they do. All right. So let's move on. So Elon Musk is saying this is a deliberate strategy by Democrats to use government handouts to attract and retain illegal immigrants, as illegals vote overwhelmingly Democrat. In New York and many other parts of the country, illegals are already allowed to vote in local elections. As they become citizens, they will vote in national elections. It's just a matter of when, not if. A diabolical but effective strategy. So what's going on here? So you've got a whistleblower. And what is this whistleblower saying? Let's find out.
They wanted us to try to identify them in such a way that they would qualify for long-term Social Security disability. Now,
What?
Yeah. And long-term Social Security disability is for life.
Yeah.
So if they get identified and qualify for long-term Social Security disability, they are as good as set up for life for medical treatment.
That doesn't sound like a refugee to me. Just being honest.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody who's planning on staying here.
Yeah,
A refugee
right.
stays until the problem's over and then goes home.
Well, that's right. And so they instructed us to try to identify, to try to get the client, because once they arrive here, they're now called clients.
They're called clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because clients pay.
Sure.
See?
Sure. I'm starting to see where this is leading here.
So they told us that we needed to talk to the client and ask them if they'd had any headaches, recurring headaches, or any lower back problems. Excuse me, anything that would qualify them for Social Security long-term disability.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Part of the screening is supposed to be, are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever?
Right.
No. Okay, good. You can come in.
Yeah.
You get on the airplane. Are you sick, maimed, injured, whatever? Yes. Good. So we can give you disability.
Correct.
What?
Yes.
This is insanity.
Yes, it is insanity.
But in order to get Social Security disability benefits, don't you need a Social Security number?
Well, we were instructed in the meeting that one of the first things we were supposed to.
So, like, when you bring in people into your country, it's supposed to be so that the country benefits, so they can contribute, Like putting people on encouraging people to say that they need long-term disability benefits is the opposite of that. Then that becomes a burden on the country. Totally insane. Elon Musk is saying it's a strategy used by Democrats to use government handouts to attract and retain illegal immigrants, as illegals vote overwhelmingly Democrat. And before anybody says, oh, well, if they're illegal, they can't vote. Well, yeah, in New York, they can. New York and other parts of the country, illegals are already allowed to vote in local elections. Also affects the census, which matters in federal elections as well. And in and when you're drawing up congressional maps, as they become citizens, they will vote in national elections. It's just a matter of when, not if. A diabolical but effective strategy. Yeah, that's what it was all about. That was what Biden's border policy was about. And Biden succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. And now Trump is attempting to reverse that. And he will to some extent, probably won't be able to. It's just too many people. I mean, it may be as many as 20 million people that Biden let across the border, encouraged to cross the border. So what's going on here? Stephen Miller just confirmed that foreign fraud rings have been using fake Social Security numbers and identities to steal billions of taxpayer benefits through the IRS. Well, none of this really is surprising, is it? But let's take a look.
What are the plans to do so if those records are obtained?
Well, as we know, there's a massive amount of fraud in this country. You have, for example, foreign fraud rings. These are foreign nationals who come into the United States. They use fake Social Security numbers. They use fake identities to steal billions in taxpayer benefits. There's no way to know until DOGE gains full access exactly how much money we're talking about. But over a 10-year normal budget window, you could be talking about saving over $1 trillion by clamping down on massive fraud in our tax and entitlement systems, including, again, those carried out by organized fraud and theft rings. A very important point in all this is to understand that DOGE are subordinate staffers of the federal government. They are political appointees, just like me, just like everyone else in the White House, that serve and answer to the president. So we're not talking about an outside private entity. We're talking about the existing federal staff of the federal government performing their statutory and constitutional duty.
I do find it amazing that the Democrats think this is the hill to die on, like defending stuff like this. Right, being opposed to exposing and ending stuff like that, right? They're opposed to transparency. They're opposed to ending waste and fraud. I do find it amazing. They're opposed to securing the border. They're opposed to deporting criminals, like not just like anybody, like murderers. They're opposed to deporting. I find it just such a weird thing. You'd think they'd have a better strategy. They would have thought this through, but apparently they haven't. I mean, I think that the media coddling of them and support has just made them so soft-brained, and lazy that they just don't have the ability to do it anymore. It's like in Canada, right? The leftists here are just they're so used to the machine backing them up, being able to rely on the media machine backing them up, on academia backing them up, on all the institutions backing them up, having their backs, that they've just gotten lazy. I mean, Mark Carney was just in an interview and saying that he's all for woke, that Trump's fighting a war on woke, and we're not going to do that in Canada because we like woke. It's like totally out of touch. It seems like they just don't have the mental muscles anymore to actually find something sane, a sane argument. It's weird. Let's see. All right. What do we got here? So from Benny Johnson, Carolyn Levitt says Elon Musk and DOGE have been sent to investigate dead people receiving social security payments. What about voting, though? I mean, did they vote as well? They all voted as well, right? Let's take a look.
I've been fighting fake news reporters all day long here in the Washington, D.C. swamp who are trying to fearmonger the American people into believing that this administration is going after their hard-earned tax dollars and their hard-earned Social Security checks. So I want to set the record straight on your show tonight, Sean, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to do so. President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the DOGE team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration. They haven't dug into the books yet, but they suspect that there are tens of millions of deceased people who are receiving fraudulent Social Security payments. And so their goal in going into the Social Security Administration is to identify three things. Number one, to identify duplicate payments and to end them. Number two, to identify payments that are going to deceased people who are no longer living and should no longer be receiving that money. And number three, to protect the integrity of this system for hardworking Americans who have been paying into it their entire lives. So rest assured to all of the people watching your show tonight, if you paid into the system, honestly, you will continue to receive your Social Security checks. Do not buy into the lies from the legacy fake news media who are trying to fear you and scare you into believing otherwise. This is what we've seen them do about President Trump for years with every promise that he has made. And he's going in there to protect your hard-earned money. That is the ultimate goal.
Nothing like a beautiful woman destroying the commies, huh? Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
I've been fighting.
She is a fantastic choice. I mean, he tends to have very good. With Kayleigh McEnany, she was very good as well. He tends to have excellent press secretaries. Trump does. And she's been knocking it out of the park. All right. I think we've seen all of that. Let's see. What else we got here? All right. And actually, let's get to the chat quickly before we go on. Actually, hold on a second. Let's put on a boating show while we're checking out the chat. Spamball Fodder says that he's so exhausted. Well, I hope you're having a relaxing time listening to Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. Let's see. Late night change windows and early mornings plus all day meetings equals lack of sleep. Well, I hope I'm not going to put you to sleep in the show, but fall asleep immediately afterwards. And if you fall asleep during the show, that's fine. You can always watch it on replay. Let's see. Other than them, says you'd be surprised how many large urban centers are woke. I would not. All of them are woke. Like every city council and every large urban center is woke at this point. Even in like conservative places in Canada, like in Alberta, in cities like Calgary. Let's see. Turtle says, My Pillow ad. Are they running ads on here now? I've never seen a My Pillow ad on Rumble. So as we don't have quite enough people on yet to read an ad, so we need to get a bit more. But then we'll do an ad and it'll be fun. We'll have a good time. Let's see. Rosie says, destroy the commies with brains and beauty. That's what she's doing. Vada says, get those commies. Commie gets nothing. By the way, there's a beautiful Commie Gets Nothing shirt in the Rumble store and also in the YouTube merch store as well. So just so you know. Let's see. This is a good time to suggest to everybody that if you're not subscribed to the channel, I think probably most, if not all, the people watching on Rumble are actually subscribed. But if you're not subscribed, subscribe, and then you'll be subscribed like everybody else. You won't be left out. You won't be like a weird loner, right? Which, if you're not subscribed right now, that's what you are. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Honesty is the best policy. You know, the truth will set you free. So you can remedy all that right now by just subscribing. It's the way to go. Also, liking the stream is extremely healthy, extremely gratifying. It imbues you with a kind of vitality that you may not have experienced since you were like a teenager. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, none of that's true, but maybe it is. I don't know. Apparently, it's good for your complexion as well. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that it is, but maybe. Who knows? It can't hurt. It's not going to make it worse. Also, don't forget the good karma that you get, the free good karma that I offer. I work so hard preparing these shows, building up this reservoir, this inner reservoir of good karma for myself. But if I keep it, that's bad karma. So I've got to give it away so that I can keep regenerating more good karma. So when you like the stream, good karma. First like of the stream, every show, double good karma. In these troubled times, I wouldn't turn my back on it. Also, subscribing, good karma. Do it, experience the effect of the good karma, and then write a testimonial in the chat. And what else happens? Well, lots of crazy things happen. Like, what about this? I want to talk about the things that people are afraid to say out loud. Who's in control of America's nukes? It's not Biden. Well, he's gone now anyway. Meanwhile, we have Russian ships off the coast of Florida and full-blown wars in Ukraine and Israel. The world is at its most unstable point since World War II. And with nuclear weapons, the stakes are 10 times higher. How do people like you and I stay safe? Well, let me tell you, every prepper needs to have Radio Guard Ace, the only FDA-approved drug to treat radioactive fallout, and maybe communism as well. I don't know. Only the feds had it until now. That's why Rumble partnered with 5G Free, the only company in the world that has a supply of Radio Guard Ace and the ability to prescribe it prophylactically, which is the best way. Get their radiation emergency kit with Radio Guard Ace, potassium iodide. Maybe there's some anti-communist materials in there. Probably not, but it would be a good idea. Zofran and a Geiger counter. A Geiger counter. It can tell you if there's radiation and maybe commies. I don't know. Probably not, but it would be a good idea. There's simply no other tool in your arsenal to protect against a radioactive threat, and definitely communists. Go to 5gfree.com, code STUDIO. Don't forget that code STUDIO. You're going to need it to save 15% and get your radiation kit now. You're not some sort of dirty commie, are you? There we go. They need to update that ad. They do. I did the best I could with it. Let's see. They definitely need to update the ad, but I've got to read the script. I've got to read what they give me. I mean, it's all good. They just need to update it. Rosie says 5G free, good growls, happy smiles, showing through. Those growls are perfect commie hate. Strong, convincing ad read, 10.5 out of 19. What? 10.5 out of 19? Now we're rating them out of 19? I thought we were supposed to be rating them out of 10. Rose says 10.5 out of 10 out of 10. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's what I thought. I was shocked there for a minute. I was stunned. I was scared. I was confused. I was just going to shut the stream down. All right. Rosie says, I cannot get the YouTube merch to show up today. What? I'll have to check that out after the show. Hopefully they didn't cancel my merch because I'm too anti-communist. I don't know. It's the sort of thing they would do. Let's face it. I'll have to check that out after the stream. All right. Nevada says, pretty good read. Practice a bit with more. Commie hate was not enough commie hate for JJ Nevada. I'll try next time, but it never is the thing. And it never can be. All right. What's going on here from Guy Benson? I'm so glad Brett Baer asked me about 60 Minutes, breathtaking anti-free speech propaganda segment, and how it relates to VP's J.D. Vance's Munich speech. So let's take a look. So we already covered this bit earlier, but this is, I think, still worth seeing. Let's take a peek.
No single clip does justice to this 13-minute segment on 60 Minutes. It is almost unbelievable to watch. I encourage people to do so. It really confirms a key thesis of the vice president's speech in Germany. The Germans themselves confirming to CBS, this is how we do things. We don't really believe in free speech. We believe in censorship very strongly. And the tone of the CBS report was enthralled. The CBS correspondent seemed almost envious of the German system. And one thing I'll say about it is, having watched it now twice, there were 5 interviews done. 5 people featured on camera over the course of the interview. All 5 of them were in favor of government censorship of free speech. 3 prosecutors, a pro-censorship activist, and a pro-censorship left-wing politician. Not even a 15-second clip for a pretense of balance from someone who opposes government censorship of free speech in the CBS clip. So really confirming and fortifying what Vance has said here at home about the media and what he said in Munich to the Germans about their own country. He was not wrong.
No, and none of these people are liberals. If you ever talk to somebody who calls himself a liberal and they're for hate speech laws, just tell them, just calmly, just say, like, well, you're not a liberal though, because that's illiberal, right? That's illiberal. Quote, the Noam Chomsky to them from the 70s, I think it was, where he said, well, free speech is for the things that you hate, right? Otherwise, there's no free speech. Essentially, that's what he said. So just inform. No, that's far left authoritarianism, right? So it's not liberal. That's illiberal. There's a lot of people calling themselves liberals.
No single clip does just.
A lot of people calling themselves liberals who don't realize what they are, right? That like the labels, that what you believe is more important than the label that, I don't know, Dana Bash would give it, for instance, right? Like it's the actual effect that matters. So from Dinesh D'Souza, Biden 2020 voters who switched to Trump in 2024 tell CNN they like what Trump is doing. Apparently, Dana Bash not too happy. She's got a constipated expression at the end. Apparently, it's priceless. Let's take a look. So I guess this didn't go according to plan. This is not how her producer told her it was going to go. Let's take a look.
Talked to some Arizona voters who switched from voting for Joe Biden in 2020 to Trump in 2024. And so far, they mostly like what they see.
I just think he's trying to get America back on track as quickly as possible, given the state that it was left in from the previous administration.
It feels more merit and transparency that I'm getting from the administration so far.
I approve of a lot of the stuff that he's doing with the border and everything.
He's put other countries on notice that were to be taken seriously.
For the most part, I feel like he's on the right track by keeping transgenders out of women's sports. That's number one.
All 11 Biden-Trump voters say they approve of Donald Trump's first weeks in office. My panel is back. Talked to some.
Well, she managed to get through that without crying. So that's, professionalism, right? I mean, what do they expect? Well, I had no idea that Donald Trump was going to secure the border and deport illegals. Well, I don't support this whole exposing fraud and waste thing. No, I can't get behind that. Well, what do they expect to happen, right? They're all shocked, by the way, that Trump's actually the most popular that he's ever been, doing the things that he was elected to do. They all find it shocking. They really are, I think, all in a bubble. Of course they're in a bubble, right? Of course they are. They're surrounded by people who all agree with them, who are apparently as uninformed as they are. Who are just other faceless, really ultimately faceless cogs in the media machine, because they're all eminently replaceable. They're all easily replaceable. You just switch them out. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You're not going to get the audience isn't going to grow, right? There's nothing they can do now. They've just turned themselves into really just personality-less. They've turned themselves into faceless, without personality cogs in a media machine, in a narrative machine. And it doesn't matter. I mean, they don't need to pay them $3. They could pay them minimum wage. They could just go out onto the street and get somebody who's half decent on a camera and pay them minimum wage, and it would be the same. The ratings would be the same. Nothing would be any different. CNN would be exactly the same. The producer would still tell them what to say. The same person who puts the words on the teleprompter, puts the opinions and the narrative on the teleprompter for them, would still put it on the teleprompter for them. Nothing would be any different. As in them says, their heads are bubbles ready to pop. It appears like there's just nothing going on in their heads. Let's see. Hold on a sec. As in them says, I pressed the like already under the video stream. Well, give us a testimonial when the good thing happens, when the good karma comes into effect. Give us a testimonial. What happened? Did you find some change in the couch? That's good karma right there. Did you find $20 in some coat pocket? You haven't worn it for like a year and there's $20 in there. That's the good karma right there. Let's see. All right. Turtle says, brainwashed here. Glad I woke up. My parents still like having me over for holiday dinners. They are 109% on the other side. I'm fortunate. My family is I used to be on the other side. Now I'm on their side. I grew up and I'm on their side now. And now I'm embarrassed of the opinions that I used to have. All right. Let's move on. What do we got next? Oh, this is so unbelievable. 60 Minutes edited Leslie Stahl's interview with Trump in 2020 to cut all the facts about Joe Biden and his dealings in Ukraine. The result is that Trump sounds incoherent in the edited version, and the public remains unaware of the extent of the scandal. I remember this. They actually show where they cut it out. So where they cut out him elaborating and explaining himself.
You would interview Joe Biden like you interview me. It would be so good. You know what?
You like this, I thought.
I don't mind it. But when I watch him walk out of a store, he's in the midst of a scandal. His family is corrupt.
So the top is the actual full interview. The bottom is what they aired.
Okay, he's corrupt. He's a corrupt politician. And he's walking with ice cream. And the question the media asks him, what kind of ice cream, what flavor ice cream do you have? And he's in the midst of a scandal.
He's not.
And he's taking, of course he is,
No,
Leslie.
come on.
Of course he is.
You
See
know,
that?
we had the Senate
So
committee
you're like
Republicans.
big tech. You're protecting him. And everyone is, except for
Yeah, but you're taking something that was investigated
Leslie,
by a
let me ask
Republican committee.
you think it's okay for the mayor of Moscow's wife to give him millions and millions of dollars, $3.5 million, to give his family $3.5? Do you think it's okay for Hunter Biden to say that we're giving the big guy 10% of this massive amount of money they're taking in? Do you think it's okay for all of these horrible things that you've seen where they're getting hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, where China gives them $1.5 billion to manage the family, $1.5 billion, and then he's supposed to negotiate? Let me tell you, it's the second biggest scandal. So, the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. So
they cut all of that out. Of course they did. Of course they have an agenda. They have an agenda. They had an agenda 4 years ago. They still do. Now their agenda is apparently to destroy free speech. And also in the process, destroy actual journalism. But I guess they don't have to worry about that because they've actually already achieved that themselves, at least on 60 Minutes.
Real evidence of that.
Of course there is. It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes. And we can't put on things we can't verify.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go. She's about to lecture him about, can you believe it? About journalistic integrity here and what they can't, they can't put on things they can't verify. They have standards, they have journalistic ethics. It's almost too much to believe.
It on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my
Well,
campaign.
we can't
It's been
verify.
totally verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign. They got caught.
Like, that's just a matter of record that they spied on his campaign. Why can't they verify that? Why exactly? Oh, yeah, because they're not really interested in informing anybody. They're interested in narrative and manipulation.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie. And you know that, but you just don't want to put it on the air.
As a matter of fact, I don't know that.
Okay.
And you're out
So
there.
why don't you get back to your interview and let's go.
All right. So you said in the briefing room, nobody likes me. It can only be my personality.
I said that jokingly. That is sarcastic. Nobody likes me. It must be my personality. I say it all the time. Nobody likes me. It must be my personality. I say it all the time, Leslie.
Do you think that your tweets and your name calling are turning people off?
No, I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't have social media because the media is corrupt. In my opinion, the media is corrupt. But the media is fake. And frankly, if I didn't have social media, I'd have no way of getting out my voice.
You know what you told me a long time ago when I asked.
It's amazing. Like, he's saying the media is corrupt, and they edit the video proving that they're corrupt.
Asked why you keep saying fake in the media.
Yeah.
You said to me, I say that because I need to discredit you so that when you say negative things about me, no one will believe you.
I don't have to discredit you.
But that's what you
You've
told me.
discredited yourself.
You told me that.
Leslie, you've discredited yourself. When you say that you're not going to
Yeah, and he was right.
cover Biden, you're going to ask him what flavor ice cream he has, okay?
That's not
Instead
easy.
of why did Hunter get $3.5 million from Moscow? Instead of why is an energy company paying your son $183,000 a month or whatever they're paying him, and he has no experience in energy. You discredit yourself. I don't have to discredit you.
So for some reason, they cut out where Trump is just accurately describing reality. The journalists did that.
So this story about Hunter and his laptop, some repair shop found it. The source is Steve Bannon and Rudy Giuliani.
I don't know anything about that. I just know it's a laptop, and they haven't.
And you're making this one of the hottest, most important issues in your rallies.
I don't know about the two gentlemen you mentioned.
This is the most important issue in the country.
It's a very important issue to find out whether or not a man's corrupt who's running for president, who's accepted money from China and from Ukraine and from Russia.
All these
I think
things
that's
have
an
been
important issue.
investigated and
It's incredible the way you can.
And polling also said that it was an important issue, and it probably would have actually turned the election had people known about it. People hadn't been deceived by the 50 intelligence experts who just lied.
Try and say this and sit there and look me in the eye and say it. He accepted money, his family, from Russia, from Ukraine, from China, and from other places. His brother, who didn't have experience, became a big builder in Iraq without experience. Take a look at what's going on, Leslie. And then you say how that shouldn't be discussed.
I'm saying
it's the biggest scandal out there, Leslie.
And you think it's the biggest issue to campaign on?
I think it's one of the biggest scandals I've ever seen, and you don't cover it.
They don't. They cut it out of the interview. That's how much they don't cover it. It's amazing how duplicitous these people have been. I mean, how can they be unaware of the cause of their downfall, of the loss of public trust, of the loss of their credibility? How can they be so apparently so unaware of that it's them? It's what they've been doing, that they're no longer serving their original purpose anymore. They've been co-opted into a machine. They've been co-opted into a narrative machine, into a propaganda machine. I don't know. I think they know that. And I think they like getting paid. And they're also incredibly partisan and biased and authoritarian leftists who don't care about the things they pretend to care about. So what's going on here? Western Lensman. Hakeem Jeffries left grasping for a response after ABC's John Carl reads off massive favorability numbers for Trump. This is going to be something that for people who live in a bubble to come, it's going to be very difficult for them to come to grips with this sort of thing because it's just this isn't how it was supposed to be, as Justin Trudeau would say.
Donald Trump's favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. Let me ask you, a recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes, 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally, 60% favor expanding oil and gas production, 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Is there anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of, that you think is the right thing?
Let me say, as it relates...
well, spoiler alert, he's not going to be in favor of anything that's popular with the voters.
To all of those issues, we're just at the beginning.
Donald Trump's favorability rating...
Yeah, they're going to work hard to stop Trump from doing the things that are popular. They're going to work hard at that. Just at the beginning. We can still stop him from doing the things that people want him to do. Oh man, it's hilarious. It's, I mean, they
60%.
They just see no choice but to die on that hill of no, we're opposed to what people like. All right. Should we do some Trudeau memes before I take a little break? Let's do some Trudeau memes. Let's see. When you're grasping at straws, I bet you ban straws. Yeah, he did ban the plastic straws. So, you know, I made a video actually on those paper straws and how they're full of chemicals, like cancer-causing chemicals. It's awful. In fact, I did that a year or two ago, maybe a couple of years ago. Let's see if they've improved at all.
Fact check.
One moment. Right away, right at the top. Let's see. Paper straws not safer than plastic straws, scientists find. January 20th, 2024. Two recognized endocrine disrupting chemicals. Well, that doesn't sound good. Endocrine disrupting chemicals. I'm not going to try and pronounce those. Were among the migrating compounds. The authors concluded this, quote, suggests that paper straws may not be the safest alternative to plastic straws in terms of food safety. Is it because of the endocrine disrupting chemicals, I wonder? It might be the endocrine disrupting chemicals in those soggy, useless things. Huh. Yeah. But thanks, Justin. Thanks. Thanks for doing the idiotic thing on ideological grounds. Thanks for doing the counterproductive thing on ideological grounds because it felt good or because progressives, that gives them a warm, fuzzy feeling that they're saving the world with paper straws that are poisoning them, that have that. What is it again? They love their endocrine disrupting chemicals, apparently. Can't get enough of those. They save the planet. You know what saves the planet the most? Endocrine disrupting chemicals. You gotta have them. Otherwise, you want the planet to burn, apparently. When you're grasping at straws, but you banned straws. Nice work, Justin Trudeau. Nice work. Because nothing matters other than just feeling virtuous or pretending to be virtuous. Nothing else matters, right? Hey, you can't handle a little bit of endocrine disrupting chemicals to save the planet? To make Justin Trudeau happy? Again, nothing matters to the modern left. And again, the Liberal Party of Canada is illiberal. It's not your father's Liberal Party. Justin Trudeau is not a liberal. He's an authoritarian radical leftist. And reality doesn't matter. Accurate descriptions of reality are verboten for people like Justin Trudeau. They don't like it. They want their fantasy world. People like Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney want their fantasy world. They're not interested in reality. They're interested in their ideology and feeling good. Feeling good. It feels good. It feels good to inflict your weird utopian plans on a country. It feels good. It feels like you're doing the right thing. It's only about what feels progressive. Does it feel progressive or not? Is it good? Oh, no. Oh, no. I tell you what. I don't actually like the endocrine disrupting chemicals in the paper straws, but it feels progressive, though, because Justin Trudeau told us. They don't care about reality. They don't care. They don't want to fit their ideology into the world. They want to fit the world into their ideology. They're happy to destroy the world in the process, to break the world in the process, trying to fit it into their fucked up, weird utopian visions, their retarded, childish utopian visions. They're not interested in reality. They're not interested in what works. They're interested in what feels left-wing. That's it. Fuck you, Justin Trudeau. Fuck you. You know what?
Small fringe minority?
Who's the small fringe minority now, Justin? It's not me. Let's see. Canadian troops, we need basic materials like helmets and ammo. Justin Trudeau, best I can do is tampons in the men's washroom. Yeah, Pawn Stars. Yeah, and that's basic. That is actually true. that is literally the best he could do. In fact,
fact check.
one moment. All right, what's going on here? So let's see. In 2023, Canadian troops in Latvia bought their own helmets with better ear protection. They also bought rain gear and equipment belts. Some soldiers sometimes buy their own helmets to supplement what the army provides. They call this Gucci gear after the luxury fashion designer. In 2023, Canadian soldiers in Poland initially received their meals from the Polish military. The Canadian Forces usually has its own cooks to provide troops with food, but there were problems with payments and reimbursements. All right. But tampons, hold on one sec.
Fact check.
All right. Let's see. How about this one? Military wanted hate crime investigation into rampant male washroom tampon vandalism. Because Justin Trudeau just had to get those tampons into the men's washrooms. Because nothing else matters than making Justin Trudeau feel virtuous. Nothing else matters. That's the most important thing. Equipping the troops properly so they don't have to buy their own gear. Nope, doesn't matter. Nope, got to get those male soldiers tampons for reasons. Because gender this and that and best feminist ever. Really unbelievable. Hey, Freedix, how you doing? Holy shnikes. I've never meant this more. Hold on. I've never meant this more than any other time I've pressed this button. That's a cool 100 from Freedix right there. That's extremely generous. I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my greed. From the bottom of my greed, I say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you an infinite amount. Best person ever. Literally better than everybody else on the planet. Now, everybody else is cool too. Don't get me wrong. Especially the channel members, especially. They're also better than everybody else in the world, except for Freedix. Clearly, top person in the world ever. Also, people subscribed are also better, just not quite as good as Freedix than the people that are channel members. Subscribers like Rosie and Spambot and Turtles. And then people are just watching also, you see how it goes. There's a hierarchy, but still you're generally going to be better than, there's 8 billion people, almost all of them. It's just that we have a winner. We have a winner. Thank you very much, Free. Thank you very, very much. Oh, my greed. My greed. My greed is glowing right now. All right. Anyway. I guess I better get on with the show. I've got to collect myself and get back on with the show again. All right. Freedix says Radio Baloney has the best voice in radio. Well, thank you very much. I also agree with that. Let's see. Us and Them says, I like the straws that bend to my will. I wish Trudeau bent to the people's will. Brick. He is a prick. He is a prick. But I know, can we be that tough on him? Can we be that tough on him?
I have a slight learning disability.
Actually, I don't care. He's a prick. He's a prick. Freedix says the guy needs a vaginoplasty. Well, 100%. I do believe that when he actually steps down, looks like it'd be March the 9th when the Liberals pick a new leader, he will go and get that permanent blackface. He will get a sex change, including a vaginoplasty, and then he will get into a lesbian marriage with Kamala Harris. That's just my that's my opinion. That's my prediction. I say there's a 98% chance of that happening. All right. Let's see. What do we got going on here? Rosie says, Freedix, you're going to be the best person ever, forever. Nice gift. I consider that my birthday and Christmas. So, let's see. Freedix is getting lots of love in the chat now, and he deserves it. Let's see. Rosie says, Trugina also has a slight lisp. He does. He does. Should we see it one more time?
I have a slight learning disability.
He has a slight being remotely decent as a human being disability, in my opinion. He has a slight commie disability. He has a slight globalist moral monster disability. Let's see. Spambot says, I tossed them into a pot of boiling water with a sprinkle of baking soda. What? Is it lobsters? I got to find out what he's talking about here. Let's see. Oh, people are asking for the fence. Hold on. Let's get the fence. I love the fence video. I'm a big fan of fences, as y'all know. Love this one. Let's see. Let's see. Turtle says, Commie Tube. Commie Tube. It is Commie Tube. I feel bad for them. Let's see. Travis Eve says, $100, that's a lot of 70 cents ad reads. That's more than 100 of them. Let's see. Friedrich says, Merry birthday. Merry birthday. That is impressive. Let's see. Spambot Father says he is not anywhere on the nice person spectrum. No, not at all. He's very high, though, on the retard spectrum, on the commie retard spectrum. Let's see. Oh, Spambot says metal straw cleaning. I see now. Okay. I don't have any metal straws. I just don't use straws anymore. Let's see. Rosie says, wonder if she was in that dress when she chopped all of the wood stacked back there. Is there a bunch of wood stacked back there? Oh, yeah, there it is. She probably did. She probably wears that dress everywhere when she's climbing fences, when she's kind of hanging around with goats, chopping wood, all of that stuff. Let's see. All right. So more Trudeau. It's just, this is just like, it's hard to believe. Like, how did we get to the place where military wanted hate crime investigation into rampant male washroom tampon vandalism? Yeah, the male soldiers weren't wild on having tampon machines in their bathrooms for some reason. I mean, you couldn't make this up before Trudeau. You couldn't make this up before a Biden. You couldn't make this up. It's just so ludicrous. Let's see. What's this one here from BC Prairie Girl? Show us where the fringe minority hurt you, Justin.
Small fringe minority?
It says, right there in my mangina. Right there in my mangina. I think this is my favorite one. Show us where the fringe minority hurt you, Justin. Right there in my mangina. Why is that so funny? That's damn funny. I'm liking it. That's just, I mean, it says right there in my mangina, and he's pointing there. It's Justin Trudeau. Where the fringe minority touched you. Oh, dear. Let's see. Who's this? This is DM, DeBoom66. How it started. Do we tolerate these people? How's it going? Join Team Canada or you're a traitor. That's it. Yes, so we all have to join his Team Canada. That was appeal to patriotism from the guy who told us that we're not even really a country. We're some post-national thing, no core identity. People don't have to assimilate when they come here because there's no culture here anyway. We'll just be whatever they are. Sure. I'm going to rally around this great patriot, Justin Trudeau. Yeah, I don't think so. Let's see. What's this? From DM DeBoom66 again. I'm here to put tampons in men's washrooms and destroy your economy. And I'm all out of tampons. I'm here to put tampons in men's washrooms and destroy your economy. And I'm all out of tampons. That's a good one, too. I like that one as well. Let's see what else we got. Oh, yeah. Well, we've seen that one before. We don't need to go there. Let's go to Mark Carney now. The next Justin Trudeau who wants to destroy the country. Let's see. Pierre Poilievre said, deja vu all over again. Carney is literally plagiarizing Trudeau's 2015 promise to run 3 small deficits that will magically grow the economy. The result, debt doubled, housing costs doubled, and food bank lineups doubled, with the worst growth in the G7. Carbon tax Carney is just like Justin. Well, the thing is that as we see now, as we know now, Carney's been advising Trudeau at least since 2020. It looks like it's been I think it's almost a certainty that he's been advising him well since before then, probably the entire time. So it's really more like Justin is just like Mark Carney. I mean, that Mark Carney is seeming increasingly like his economic mentor, and that he's just been doing what Carney has said. CBC, August 27, 2015. Justin Trudeau says a Liberal government won't balance the books for 3 straight years, but will double spending on infrastructure to jumpstart economic growth. Well, that didn't work. Here's the thing, too, is that, that may work, but you need somebody competent doing it. Like Trudeau has proven over the last decade that he's not good at anything other than campaigning. That's it. All he's good at is just is expanding bureaucracies to buy votes. That's it. He's good at giving hundreds of millions of dollars to like McKinsey as like consultation, right? And PR. That's it. He's not actually good at accomplishing anything, and neither will Mark Carney be. He's a believer in big government, centralization. Do you think that he's going to spend enormous amounts of money expanding bureaucracies? Of course he is. He thinks that's a good thing. CBC, February 16th, 2025. Liberal leadership hopeful Mark Carney confirmed Sunday that a federal government led by him would run a deficit to invest and grow Canada's economy, but it would also balance its operational spending over the next 3 years. Well, it won't, though. It won't. That doesn't even make sense. Of course it's not. He's a big government guy. Of course he's going to spend. He loves to. His career as a central banker is just printing money, quantitative easing, as they call it. No, he's going to run a deficit. He's saying he's going to run a deficit, but we're not going to invest and grow. That's the problem. When he talks about invest and grow, he's talking about green boondoggles. That's what you must understand here. I'm reading his book. He's net zero obsessed. He's carbon obsessed. When he talks about invest and grow, he's talking about boondoggles, green boondoggles that will make people very wealthy, just not Canadians, right? Not the Canadian people. It'll make the people that he gives the money to for the green boondoggles, for the windmills or whatever. It'll make them very wealthy, and maybe him too. I mean, he has yet to release his financials, so we don't know what he's invested in. But no, it's not the invest and grow. Well, grow his friends' bank accounts, I guess he means. For Canadians, no. All right, what do we got next? Let's see. Pierre Poilievre says, carbon tax Carney's con job. One way or another, he'll make you pay more for your gas, heat, and groceries, just like Justin. Well, after the UK embraced his net zero fantasies, now you've got pensioners who can't afford to heat their homes in the winter. Mark Carney was instrumental in blocking fracking in the UK, by the way. So he is directly responsible for that. These are the kinds of policies that he'll bring to Canada. If it's not a green boondoggle that'll enrich his friends, he's not interested.
So the issue wasn't, to coin a phrase, whether to axe the tax. The issue was how to change it.
We need to use effectively a shadow carbon price.
So
shadow carbon price? That sounds exactly the sort of thing that an eco-fanatic technocrat, globalist, UN climate finance envoy would do. That sounds like exactly the sorts of things somebody like that would do. Some elitist globalist, which he proudly brags that he's an elitist globalist. Amazingly.
in changing the carbon tax,
once you put in place the sort of shadow prices, so in other words, regulation on hydrogen fuel blends, phasing out internal combustion engines, expectations of floors on carbon prices, all the things that Janet...
This is all fantasies. Hydrogen, phasing out combustion, internal combustion engines. These are all fantasies. This is not This is not realistic for a modern industrial society, not if you want to stay one.
Janet Yellen and I were, kind of alluding to in this report, the sort of future path of policy.
What we're going to do is make sure not that the government pays, not that we as taxpayers pay, but the large polluters pay. And so what happens?
But does that not ultimately trickle down?
No, because what the big companies are producing, by and large, are not products that we are consuming. There's some element of that, but by and large, a steel company, how much steel are you using these days, Todd? I mean, not as much we used.
Yeah, because people don't use stuff with steel in it. Amazing. Yeah, there's no way essentially just taxing industry more is going to trickle down. When has that ever happened? When have costs ever been passed on to the consumer before? That won't happen. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it certainly wouldn't happen in Mark Carney's fantasy world, his fantasy green world, where he takes Canadian taxpayer dollars and also the money from the probably the money from industry that he's going to destroy, and which is probably going to leave Canada to the United States, where Trump is rolling out the red carpet and saying that he's going to give all kinds of incentives to go down there. He's saying that openly, right? What do you think the chances are a bunch of this money is going to go to his friends' green boondoggle projects, I wonder? I don't know. Probably 100%, I'd guess. Let's see. There's another one from Pierre Poilievre. The Liberal no new pipelines law would have to go before a single major project can go ahead, says Canada's top pipeline company. Liberals will never repeal their own law. Only Canada's common sense conservatives will do that. Yes, Carney is now talking about pipelines. He's also going to Quebec and saying, we're definitely not going to have any pipelines through Quebec. So, the Energy East, he's telling Quebec that's not going to happen, but he's telling the West that is going to happen. He's lying. He's a leftist, right? Reality doesn't matter. Objective reality doesn't matter to him. It's just power. That's it. Enbridge CEO says revisiting Northern Gateway would require real changes from governments. So when you're talking about massive investments of billions of dollars, right? Like Canada has lost all trust at this point. So there's going to have to be real, solid, concrete assurances, legal assurances that Mark Carney's not going to give. I mean, I'm reading his book right now, Values. The whole thing is just one giant green fantasy. That's it. It's just a giant green boondoggle. It's just this ridiculous, childish, and actually quite cliched green vision, eco-vision, eco-socialist vision. Really more of the world even than just Canada. And by the way, he estimates that it'll only cost $2 trillion to, retrofit all of Canada's industry, which Canadian industry will have to pay, by the way. It'll only cost $2 trillion for that to happen. So that's a big part of his plan, by the way. Yeah, so it's going to be difficult to get investment back into Canada again, unfortunately, because so much trust has been lost. So here's from Cian Bexty. Mark Carney spills his brain rot on loyal Liberals, announcing that he needs to urgently change the name. Hold on a sec. I got a cough. All right, let's start over. From Cian Bexty. Mark's Carney spills his brain rot on loyal Liberals. So Mark's Carney is good. I think it was White Claypool who started that. Might have been him. I don't know if it was Cian who started that, but Mark's Carney is a good name for Mark Carney for obvious reasons. Mark's Carney spills his brain rot on loyal Liberals, announcing that he needs to urgently change the name of the carbon tax so that businesses can be more competitive or something. The media billed this man as smart. The media was mistaken. Well, on this channel, on Radio Baloney, we're calling him a smart tard because he's supposed to be smart, but he's actually a tard. So that's why we call him that. Let's watch.
If you just axe the tax, you don't help our steel companies and our auto companies become more competitive in a world where we need new trading partners.
So how does that make any sense, by the way? If you just axe the tax, you don't help our steel industry from becoming more competitive? How exactly? Like, how is that going to make the steel industry less competitive in any way? That doesn't make any sense, but let's continue.
So what we did is we proposed is to, yes, axe the tax for individuals, for small businesses, for farms, for medium-sized businesses. It's going to be gone. I'm elected leader. And it'll be gone by April 1st, just to be clear. But we said, at the same time, we're going to make sure that our businesses can become more competitive. And at the same time, we're going to make sure every Canadian, if they want to make investments in insulating their homes or driving a more fuel-efficient car, reducing emissions, reducing costs otherwise, we're going to get the large polluters to pay you for it, not the taxpayers, the large polluters. That's the smart way to do it.
So he's saying that by taxing industry and large businesses more, and you know it'll be a lot, that's going to make them more competitive. I wonder if it might hurt those businesses. I wonder if it might hurt industry. I wonder if it might drive a bunch of them across the border into the waiting, loving arms of Donald Trump, who has asked them to move to the United States, where he will give them preferential treatment, low taxes. I wonder what will happen here. I don't see the whole more competitive thing happening. Do you? In fact, it doesn't appear to make any sense whatsoever. The economic genius, Mark Carney, doesn't seem to be making any sense whatsoever. It seems like he's just lying to stupid, credulous people who will just eat up anything so long as they don't have to vote conservative because it's so unfashionable. And what would they say at the dinner party? That seems to be what's happening here. He knows these people are credulous and stupid and just biased and partisan, and they'll just eat up anything he serves them to justify their vote for a liberal party that is clearly insane, in my opinion. That is clearly going to just continue hurting Canada. But let's let him finish this off.
Because it actually makes it cheaper for the large polluters and better for all of you.
Did you? Okay, we have to re-listen to that. Okay.
Reducing emissions, reducing costs otherwise, we're going to get the large polluters to pay you for it, not the taxpayers, the large polluters. That's the smart way to do it, because it actually makes it cheaper for the large polluters and better for all of you.
It makes it cheaper for the large polluters, as he calls them, or some people call them businesses or industry. It makes it cheaper for them if he taxes them so that he can then pretend that he's going to bribe the public with the money that he extracts from them. It makes it cheap. This makes zero sense. It's obviously totally irrational and insane. I mean, the guy has a PhD in economics. I mean, he must know that, obviously. None of this makes any sense. What did Cian Bexley call it here? He called it brain rot. Brain rot that he's spilling out onto loyal liberals, which are the only people who could actually probably stand there and listen to this without throwing up. This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know what this speech means? He should just be saying, look, you're all idiots. And you're going to vote for me anyway, because it's so deeply unfashionable for you to vote conservative, even if you know that we're going to destroy the country. Like, I could tell you that I'm going to make it cheaper for industry and make them more competitive by taxing them more. And you'll vote for me because you're idiots, because you're ants. You know what I'm running? I'm not running to be Prime Minister of Canada, of a nation of people. I'm running to be Prime Minister of an ant farm. And you're all just fucking ants. And you'll do what you're told because you're stupid. Because you're so partisan and biased. Because it's so deeply unfashionable to you. It's so deeply unappealing. So aesthetically unappealing to you to vote in your own best interest because Rosemary Barton on the CBC told you so. This is lunacy. This is even more lunacy than Trudeau. You can see where Trudeau got all of his ideas from. You can see here. It makes sense, right? He's been advising Trudeau since at least 2020. It's all making sense now, isn't it? When you read Carney's book, you understand that when you read Carney's book, you will think to yourself, if you read it, you would think to yourself, oh, this is just Justin Trudeau's policy. This is what he's been doing for a decade. That's what his book is. That's how you know he's really been the one making the calls on the economy. He can deny it. It's right in his book. I mean, Trudeau's obviously not smart enough to come up with anything himself. It's obviously been him. It's obviously been his influence. Trudeau is obviously an economic disciple of this. I don't know what you call him. I guess smart-tard. Smart-tard. What have we got here? Well, it says, why are people voting for this? From Mark Nixon here. Climate change is not the biggest threat. The fight against climate change is the most the fight against climate change is the most existential threat. Let's see. So what is Mark Carney talking about here? Mark Carney's carbon tax plan. Let's take a look.
Third thing we're going to do is to ensure that there's fair competition for our companies and that we penalize high polluting foreign imports. So we're going to develop a carbon border adjustment mechanism. What that does is promote jobs here at home. It prevents carbon leakage abroad. And it aligns Canada with our allies who are still engaged in the fight against climate change.
So he talks about, see, in his book, he paints this fantasy world where all the countries of the world are aligned with his utopian vision, his fantasy green vision of how the world should work, that all the other countries are going to be Carneyized. I think they need to be decarneyized as opposed to decarbonized. But in his fantasy world, right, if Canada puts a tariff on goods imported from countries that aren't meeting Mark Carney's climate goal standards, right, then that will make the world do what Mark Carney wants. Canada isn't a big enough player to have that kind of influence. It's fairly insane. It's ludicrous, as a matter of fact. That is just going to, there is no upside to that. Of course, there's going to be retaliatory tariffs as well. Of course, there's no upside. This is just a crazy idea from a lunatic, as far as I can tell. I mean, this is supposed to be this brilliant economist. None of what he says makes sense. It all just seems to it works in the fantasy world in his head, and it will work nowhere else. None of this makes sense. UK and
Davos and the World Economic Forum. Davos and the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the IMF, all of these bodies now subscribe to the same worldview. And It's a new version of socialism. That's what this is. Net zero, transgender extremism, Islamism. All of these things involve taking power away from individuals and families and businesses and instead giving the power to supranational institutions. And that is what people in the West are now rebelling against, and rightly so, because if we carried on down that path, we would be seeing the end of our civilization.
Well, she knows Mark Carney from the UK, where he's head of the Bank of England. And she has negative things to say about him. Printed too much money, the net zero that he was pushing there. In fact, he was instrumental in stopping her, Liz Truss, in fact, getting her kicked out of the prime ministership because she wanted to open up fracking. Mark Carney was instrumental in that. And now seniors can't afford to heat their homes in the winter in the UK because of his insane net zero ideas. You have to understand, he's a self-proclaimed, I'm not kidding, he's a self-proclaimed elitist globalist, right? And they just have this vision of the world in their head, and that's all they care about. They just care about their vision, their values. They don't care about people. Countries are just sandlots for them to play in, for them to experiment with their crazy utopian theories. Don't care, right? He is running for the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party is an illiberal party. It is a radical leftist party now. He is a radical leftist. Every bit of evidence points to that. He's a collectivist. He's a central planner. He doesn't believe in that, patchwork quilt of consequential knowledge. That patchwork quilt of consequential knowledge that actually makes up a successful economy and people and nation. No, he believes in central planning. It's up to him. It's up to Mark Carney to make all of your decisions for you, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a farmer, whether you're an office worker. It doesn't matter. He's going to, whether you're an Uber driver, he's going to make all your decisions for you. You have nothing to add on the matter. You're not Mark Carney. You didn't go to Oxford. You didn't go to Harvard. You're not qualified to make decisions about things that you understand and that he never will, right? He's the one who wants to make the decisions. That is what we're fighting against in the West. That is what the United States was fighting against when it elected Donald Trump. That's what the people of Germany are fighting against when they vote for a party like the AfD. They're fighting against being ruled by authoritarian leftists. All right, what's going on here? Mark Nixon, Brian Lilley and Steve Bannon drop truth bombs. Well, let's take a look.
It might be having the reverse outcome of what he wanted, because conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was looking like he was going to form the next government. Now anger over this has a Mark Carney-led Liberal government tied or leading. And you could end up with a very left-wing environmental zealot who...
Well, I should say there's one outlier poll, but I think in the aggregate polling, no, it's not going to happen. The Conservatives will win a majority government, but it's not helping Pierre, I have to say. I kind of wish that Trump had not started in on this now, because it kind of, at the very least, it puts Pierre in a corner, in a patriotic corner. And I don't think it's helpful. I think it's going to be, it's counterproductive, because Canada is going to have a conservative government with Pierre Poilievre, right, who is a natural ally for Trump. And I'm not sure this is really helping right now, but I don't think it's going to result in another Liberal government. I just don't see it.
Will win by campaigning against
a very left-wing environmental zealot like the government you've had will only lead Canada more rapidly to the edge of the abyss. Right? These people are radicals. They have these bizarre economic theories.
So he wants a carbon tariff on anything that comes from a country that doesn't have it. What would the reaction be?
Boom. And we're back. We are back. Gotten fast at that. Gotten really fast at that. Can you guys hear me? Are you back? Is everybody back? Let's see you in the chat. There we go. We're back. I wonder if that's ever going to stop happening. All right, you know what? We're going to watch that again, but first I need to take a short break. I need to make myself some more rant juice. I'll be right back, you guys. There's something for the lads. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. Super important. Also, like the stream. It's extremely important to like the stream. You have no idea how important this is. I can't get into it right now. And let me just tell you, you know what? Actually, I think you guys have earned the truth. If you don't subscribe, if you don't like the stream right now, you will die. Just kidding. Why do I say horrible things like that? I don't know. It's just something I've always done. What else I've always done? This sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. And we want it to survive because it's the last bastion of free speech, really, isn't it? For video, when Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator, like Radio Baloney. They didn't censor or have biases. That's what I loved about them. They were fair and treated all creators equally. They didn't act like central planning communists, censoring communists, which is great. It's super appealing. That's why I'm here. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID. Oh, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. More like woke book or censorship book. That's what I say. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. They're attacked by dirty, filthy commies. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it because it's communism or something. Too much of it. I don't know what the hell's going on with brand advertisers. Don't they know where they are? Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and I know you do, and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Beautiful, beautiful Rumble Premium. It's the most beautiful. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right. This is so important. Human right to free speech. It's the most important one. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO. Remember that STUDIO. You're going to need it because when you purchase your annual subscription, go to rumble.com/premium and use the promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we are just happy if you watch us on Rumble, but I might suspect that you might be a dirty, filthy commie. But anyway, I struggled with that one. Drama says another 70 cents well earned. Rosie said, Rumble ad. I'm so glad I subscribed and will have a surviving Rumble. Commie hate and an impression thrown in, 9.9 out of 10. I felt that was one of my weaker ones, to be honest. I ran out of energy a little bit. Let's see. OT says it's worth checking out YouTube's Clyde do something for an update on tariffs. Yeah, I've watched Clyde. I think he's good. Rosie says, okay, I've never watched The Fence in full screen, just did. I'm thinking she may need some foundation garments. I'm aware she may be lacking. I only noticed The Fence. Let's see. Nevada says that was good commie hate. Good commie hate. All right, then shall we continue? All right, let's watch this. So this is Brian Lilly. See, Mark Nixon posted this. So he's talking, it's Brian Lilly and Steve Bannon dropping truth bombs. So let's take a peek.
It might be having the reverse outcome of what he wanted, because conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was looking like he was going to form the next government. Now anger over this has a Mark Carney-led liberal government tied or leading. And you could end up with a very left-wing environmental zealot who will win by campaigning against
a very left-wing environmental zealot like the government you've had will only lead Canada more rapidly to the edge of the abyss. Right? These people are radicals. They have these bizarre economic theories.
So he wants a carbon tariff on anything that comes from a country that doesn't have it. What would the reaction be in Washington to Canada saying, if your climate plan's not good enough, and the American one would not be good enough for Mark Carney, what would the reaction be to Canada putting a carbon tariff on every import that we have from you?
I think it would be a complete rethinking here in the country about what our relationship is with Canada. I think that if you did that, you would essentially say that we're a hostile power. I think it would be reviewed by the American people as that. I think it would be reviewed by people in Washington as that. And I think it would be reviewed by President Trump as that.
Yeah, first off, we're not at risk of another Liberal government after the next election of Carney winning. There's a couple of outlier polls, but no, it's simply not going to happen. The aggregate polling still shows that the Conservatives will win a majority government. There's always that kind of little bump that you get with a new leader, right? There's the relief that Trudeau's gone. Amongst the Liberal voters, there's relief that Trudeau's gone, and here's this new guy who really is. I think it was about 1 out of 10 Canadians could name him when shown a photograph of him when he announced he was going to run for the leadership. As they get to know him and realize that it's all just exactly the same as Trudeau, right? He's just Trudeau. As they start to recognize that there's something very similar with Trudeau's views and Mark Carney's views, and as they start to hear his, what's the word I'm looking for here? Incoherent economic theories and policies and ideas, right? They're going to turn very quickly, right? And what you're really seeing is the left-wing parties cannibalizing each other. So the Liberals are cannibalizing from the NDP. But that's really, and a couple of other parties, they're grabbed a couple of points from the bloc. But Canadians haven't seen much of him yet. I'm calling him Kamala Carney because he's not an MP. Nobody's ever voted for him, right? Just like Kamala. I mean, Kamala, she ran in elections in California, but when she got up to the presidential level, nobody voted for her. We're seeing some weird outlier polls that don't make sense, just like with Kamala. And of course, the corporate media is in love, adoring Mark Carney right now, just like with Kamala. It's all a fantasy. It's all fake. It's not real. The more people get to know the hobgoblin Mark Carney, the socialist hobgoblin Mark Carney, the progressive gargoyle Mark Carney, the eco-fanatic Mark Carney, the less they're going to like him and realize, oh no, shit, he's just more Trudeau. So I think maybe you could put it at 3%. I would give chance of Liberals winning. I think even that is unrealistic. But yeah, I mean, what Bannon is saying is true. I mean, it would be a total disaster. Carney's economic policies will destroy Canadian industry, right? So a tariff on all countries that aren't conforming to Mark Carney's eco plans, his eco standards for industry, for business, will destroy the Canadian economy, obviously, but also Trump would like it because he's already stated that he wants every company in the world, including Canadian companies, to move to the States, to move manufacturing to the States, move their headquarters to the States. They're going to get preferential treatment. He's actually going to treat them well and value them. Unlike Mark Carney, whose promise is to tax them into oblivion. So, yeah, I mean, if Canadians were stupid, were credulous enough, were foolish enough to vote in Mark Carney, yeah, that's it. You can just forget about Canada being a first world country. That's over at that point. And maybe never to be a first world country again. All right. Okay, so let's get off Carney. Let's see. We have, okay. Did we do all of the Trudeau memes yet? Let's see. This is a good one. I'm here to put tampons in men's washrooms and destroy your economy. And I'm all out of tampons. Classic. But my favorite still, I think, is my very favorite still is show us where the fringe minority hurt you, Justin. Right there in my mangina. There's something about this one. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just got its own special charm. It really captures them. All right. What the hell are we doing now? Sean Newman podcast. Canada, are we the beachhead for World War III? So let's listen to what this guy has to say. As we know, there's been an enormous amount of Chinese foreign interference in Canadian elections, at least the last two, 2019, 2021. We know that there is going to be Chinese. We know there is already Chinese interference in the Liberal leadership race for the Liberal Party of Canada against, Chinese media interference for Mark Carney and against Chrystia Freeland. I mean, I'm sure the Chinese Communist Party would be fine with either of them, because I'm sure they'd be confident that either of them was going to, wreck Canada further and be just as easily manipulated and used by the Chinese Communist Party. But they think that Mark Carney will be worse for Canada, even worse than Freeland. So obviously that's who they want. Oh, he's also got a lot of connections through his UN global finance role. So he's all tied in with Chinese banks and whatnot. I'm sure they would see him as a very useful tool. And of course, nothing's getting done about it, by the way. Nothing's getting done. But let's take a look.
China, if you're doing business with them, you're really doing business with their military. And they look at the world like a risk board. They look at Canada as a beachhead. I do believe that's true. And my evidence here is back in 2017, a State Department official started asking me to go out for coffee. And they said, what you're reporting at the Vancouver Sun about, all this real estate money from China, all the drug concerns, we have the same concerns that China is getting just much too big of a footprint in Western Canada. And our guys in the DEA say your RCMP won't work with us. It's all excuses. So China is using Canada as a proxy. I can't say it any simpler. That's the American concern. China, if you're doing...
Yeah, and it's been going on, including during the last Conservative government in Canada. This is something that Pierre Poilievre is going to have to get a hold of. I mean, this is a major concern for the United States. It's one of the reasons why Trump is being so threatening towards Canada, right? He's threatening. One of the reasons for the tariff threats, right? The first tariff threats were based entirely around border security. That also includes port security for Canadian ports. What's coming in? What's coming in? It's less than 1% of the shipping is searched in Canada, is checked, right? So it's something that it's been obviously signaled from the States that Canada has to get a handle on. Pierre Poilievre is going to have to deal with that and take it seriously. I believe that he will. All right, we already saw that. All right, let's get to the last tab here. What's this? I Love America News posted this, winning. Let's see. Mark Hamill, I am your president. No, Mark Hamill is not dealing with it well. He's not dealing with it well at all. Mark Hamill, I am your president. No, I'm a pussy. He's not. Mark Hamill has not been dealing with it well at all. From Thomas Sowell quotes. So it's saying Scott Jennings on CNN. Do you think it is a legitimate political debating point for the previous administration to have overseen historic inflation over 4 years, and then you come out and say 4 weeks? I guess Trump's a failure. This is the weirdest thing, right? You see it about the plane crashes now too. They're saying, look at all of these plane crashes since Trump got in. It's like, okay, I think there's something like 20,000 air traffic controllers. They've gotten rid of 400 in there. And those 400 weren't actually even air traffic controllers or people doing that job, right? I think when the Biden administration enacted the DEI policies, obviously it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. And I think that's probably what you're seeing now, right? This is the fruit of the Biden policies coming to fruition, which take a while to implement, especially with leftists. It takes them a long time to do anything, right? Just because they're so bureaucratic. Except for opening the border. They can do that really quick.
So you want that in 3 weeks he could fire
got rid of the whole
75,000 people, right?
Do you think it is a legitimate political debating point for the previous administration to have overseen historic inflation over 4 years and then you to come out and say, 4 weeks, I guess Trump's a failure.
He said on day one, I will lower your grocery prices, and he has not done it. And prices have gone up.
On your point, I agree with you that the ultimate measurement of him will be on whether people feel less economic anxiety. I disagree that he hasn't done anything. A lot of his executive orders were aimed at energy, which is, I think, the fastest thing he can do.
Although energy prices are going up.
Energy regulations. But really, what he does now over the next couple of months with the Congress, I mean, his real agenda will come in the reconciliation bill. Taxes, energy, immigration. I mean, the stuff he really ran on, that's where the real policy rubber hits the road. And he's going to have to get these guys in Congress to go along with him. And they're obviously, working on it right now. But if they cannot get that done, that will be a problem. But I think they'll get there.
By the way, Elon Musk.
So you want that in 4 weeks?
I mean, obviously, this guy obviously understands that you can't expect Trump to get the things done that he promised to do over 4 years done in 4 weeks, like everything, right? Like, what can you do with inflation in 1 month? I mean, you can start, right? But it takes time. Obviously, it takes time. I mean, there's certain things you can do. There's executive orders. You can deal with the border. But even that is not like the second he says it, right? Or there's certain things you can do quickly. There's certain things you can't. Prices are going up. He's been in for a month. I mean, obviously they know this. I guess it really just reflects their total disdain and disrespect of their own viewers. And that disrespect, that disdain is well earned, I think, from the viewers because they keep tuning in to people who are obviously lying to them. So I guess it makes sense. What do we got here? How about this from the Vigilant Fox? Dr. Deborah Birx admits the COOF shots were pushed on the wrong people, saying the rollout on young people ignored the science. Now she tells us this was well known that children didn't need the jabs. It was well known that young people didn't need them, right? We knew back then, the average age of death for the COOF was 84. It was higher than the actual average lifespan. This was all known. But I guess there was a lot of money to be made. So there you go.
He made it very clear to every mom out there that his children were immunized about childhood vaccines.
Yeah.
And what we've done wrong in public health is we didn't explain that COVID vaccines were nothing like the childhood vaccines, and that the childhood vaccines, like many of the diseases, you get it once, you don't get it again. And this is getting the children to have that disease without getting the deadly consequences. That is not what the COVID vaccine was designed to do. It wasn't designed to prevent against infection. And if you look at the vaccine hesitant.
When I clip this part, I'm going to have to go in and show all the videos of them all saying that, yes, it was them claiming that it did that, lying, in fact. But let's continue.
Rates, they've doubled since COVID. So we have to start addressing these things. We can't just ignore them.
And Deborah, let me ask you, Deborah, I mean, given that you were the face of COVID from the Trump presidency at the time, do you share this doctor who I was with, do you share the concerns about the longer term negative impact of some of the COVID vaccines?
The messenger RNA vaccine should have been rolled out for the people that were at risk for severe disease, because that's what the vaccine was developed for. But when we say that we're following the science and the data, We need to follow the science and the data. And the science and the data said people primarily over 65 or people with significant comorbidities were at risk for severe disease. Those are the individuals that should have been immunized first. And we should have put our science behind our immunization schedule and protected those most at risk. It went into young people in hospitals before it went into our elderly in nursing homes. That is not following the science and the data. So I am all for following the science and the data, but it shouldn't just be a statement. It should be a reality. And when we don't match what we do in public health to the science and the data, that is when we get into trouble. And that's when we start to fracture trust with the American people.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the people who weren't at serious risks never should have had it in the first place. Maybe you shouldn't have told them to. Maybe you shouldn't have told them to, give it to your 5-year-old and 12-year-olds and healthy, 30-year-old athletes and things. A little late, I would say. Let's see. J-Ham, how you doing? Says, I would rather talk to a wall than debate a liberal. They interrupt, ignore, and lie. When that doesn't work, they censor. Yeah, because they're not going off of, they're not interested in reality, right? Like, liberals have been trained to liberals have been trained to ignore objective reality. They don't believe in objective reality. They just believe in winning. It's just what feels good, right? Does it feel progressive or not? If it feels like what the ladies on The View would say, it's good. If it doesn't feel like that, it's bad. So that's why it's like talking to a wall, because that's why it seems like reason can't get through to them, because it can't. They've been trained to ignore reason. Like, they've been trained to ignore accurate descriptions of reality. They've been trained to double think, to just whatever is convenient in the moment, just go with that, as long as it feels progressive, as long as it really, and with progressive, you could just say fashionable, right? As long as it feels fashionable, as long as it feels like what that, singer would think, that singer that they like, as long as it feels like what Taylor Swift would say, it's good. And they're willing to turn on a dime and ignore, and then totally reject that in a second if all of a sudden it's not fashionable. That's why it's like talking to all, because they don't care if they're right or wrong. They just care about appearances in their bubble. Let's see. Spambot says, the only thing that Mark Hamill did that I enjoy is voice acting for the LucasArts point-and-click game Full Throttle. I never played it. Let's see. Rosie asked, did you see the clip of Mark Hamill with his pants falling? I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet. JDL, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. Rosie says she's backtracking. She and all of them are responsible for so much death and injury and more to come. Well, I'm not going to argue with you. Nevada said she said in her book that she didn't think it would help a single person. Really? I haven't seen that. All right. Let's see. All right. Let's move on. Let us move on. Let us move on. That's what the salad said. Let's see. What do we got going on? We got something going on right now. Hold on. What is this? Oh, not working. Okay. Cancel. I'm trying to do a beautiful ad read for you guys. All right, let's give it another go. Will it work? Will it work? Nope. It's not letting me do it. Well, how about this one? Will this one work? Try a different one. In today's society, it's tough to be a man in a world dominated by overly masculine liberal women. That's just not how it's meant to be. Tell me about it. Everywhere we look, it's gender neutral, this product, or made for her, that product. That's why we started a company that embodies the ethos of men's lives matter too, with products that aren't designed to be gender neutral are used by people with pronouns. They're usually commies, you know. Our products at Rumble are designed and built for men by men, period. No pun intended. So if you struggle with low energy, mood swings, or hair loss, or if you need to perform a little better at the gym, maybe in bed, wink, wink, and recover quicker after, throw out all of your other garbage commie supplements and try animal organs. They are traditionally the most nutrient-rich supplements on the planet. But our bison organs are a step above. The grass-fed, non-vaccinated bison are a species where the weak are allowed to die and only the strongest survive the way nature intended it. So here is our commitment to you. From men who have real confidence in their products, try this today. And if you don't like it, fine. Return it for a refund. Go to Be Naked, naked.com, code studio. Remember the code studio and get your 15% off today. You're not some sort of commie, are you? There we go. I was doing great right up till the end. I flubbed the line right at the end. God damn it. Rosie says, you are on fire right up until the end. And I flubbed that one line. Damn it. Damn it. I thought I was a professional. Maybe not. Let's see. Nevada says fire. All right, let's move on. What's going on here? Nothing special to see. You know what? I want to apologize. I forgot to check the messages in X because you guys, you know, especially Rosie sends me in great videos. I forgot to check. We're going to shut it down fairly soon, but I promise I will go through those for the Friday show. I do want you guys to keep sending them. They're awesome. Sometimes I was just in a rush before this stream, so I just didn't have time. And it's kind of one of those things I'll forget if I don't have the time. But I do appreciate that. I value that. I value you. You know that. And I will go through those for the Friday show. So Massimo says, nothing special to see, just a little monkey dressed as a what is that, 19th century lady helping with gardening. Well, that's funny. I was wondering at first if this was AI, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a funny little monkey.
Đi đâu đây? Đi đâu đấy? Con đi đâu đấy? Đi đâu mang vô thế này? Đội mũ là mang vô cho ai đây? Cho ba hả? Mang vô cho ba hả? Vô này của Ly mà. Cái này nhỏ lắm, mang dùng được nhá. Hôm nay trời mát rồi ha. Đi bắt cà không? Đi bắt cà nhá. Đi lấy rổ đi bắt cà. Đúng rồi, mang con đây. Mang đây ba này. Đây này. Thấy không? Trời ơi. Thích không? Thích không? Thích quả nào? Đây này. Đấy, thích quả nào thì hái đi. Đó ha. Đây để bà giúp cho. Đó, tao mang bỏ rổ đi. Bỏ rổ đi. Giỏi lắm. Có lấy nữa này. Lấy nữa không? Đây này, vào lấy cho nhá. Ui trời, đây này đi. Con bỏ rổ đi. Bỏ rổ con. Đây kia thích quả nữa cho Ly nhá. Đây đi đây. Đây này. Yeah. Đây, coi chưa? Nè. Được không? Nè. Này này. Alo, nè. Tao bỏ cái đi, bỏ rổ đi. Bỏ rổ đi là ra hai đứa nữa này. Đây này, đi này. Đây này. Đây da. Rồi, con bỏ cái đi. Đi, mình đi hái thêm gà đi. Còn không? Đây đi ơi. Đây này. Có không? Có không?
You know, I was just watching this and thinking about how weirdly kind of adorable it is and how I almost wouldn't mind having a little monkey. Then I wondered, he dresses it up like a lady. Is he married to the monkey? Is he? He's not doing weird things with that monkey, is he? I don't know. I mean, the monkey seems happy enough, so it's got something to do. You know, keeps itself occupied. So I don't know, but it's weird, but I like it. I like that monkey. I hope that everything's all right. between him and the monkey. What is it saying? What is the internet saying about this? Kevin says, I don't like videos like this because I imagine how much force this animal had to endure to try and make a viral video. I also don't like all these rescue videos with the obvious, okay, just fuck off. I was wondering myself, is he doing weird things with the monkey? Right? But the monkey does seem happy enough. I mean, you don't have to virtue signal over everything. And hundreds of thousands of years from now, the monkeys will have ancient stories about giants that they used to work alongside with that had great, amazing technology that allowed them to easily build giant structures and travel the world. See, this is better. This is better. This is better than what I said. But him being married to the monkey stuff and doing weird stuff, it's better. Let's see. Pepe's fangirl says she's such a big helper and looks adorable in that 1800s prairie dress. She genuinely understands his cues as well. The more I see of monkeys, the more I respect them. They are so nurturing of other animals. Okay, well, that's all nice. All right, well, let's just leave it at that. I think it's fine. I think it's fine for that man to be married to this monkey. And as long as they're happy, I don't care who we to judge. You know, they're having a good time out in the garden. You know, it's grabbing his eggplant. Let's see. What's going on here? Mario Nawfall says, Elon, Mario Nawfall posted this. Elon says Trump derangement syndrome is real. Well, we knew that. Let's take a look.
This whole sort of like, you know, they call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't, you don't realize how real this is until like you can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, and it was like a nice quiet dinner and everyone was behaving normally. And then I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies, okay? And they're like, wow! And I'm like, what is wrong? Guys, like, you can't have like a normal conversation. Yeah. And it's like like that they become completely irrational. This whole sort of like, you know,
meth and rabies.
They call it like
meth and rabies. That's a good description of it. You know, the thing about Trump is that he's showing, you know, an inflection point for Western civilization, right? What do you want? Now, aside from all of the tariffs and all of that, he's trying to make America great again. Aside from the tariffs and everything, right? He's showing that there's an inflection point, right, for the West. Like, which way, young man? Like, which way does the West want to go, right? Does it want to go to managed decline, increasing authoritarianism, censorship, self-hatred, masochism, civilizational masochism? Or does it want to say, actually, we got a pretty good thing going on here, and let's restore that. Let's restore our, whether it's the UK or Germany or Canada or wherever, let's restore our pride again. Let's have a Western Renaissance. Let's have a new Renaissance. Let's not hate ourselves. Let's not hate our culture. Let's not tell lies about ourselves, right? Like there's not actually any virtue in that. Let's double down on Western civilization. These are clearly the best These are clearly the best countries that have ever existed. Western civilization is clearly, by far, the pinnacle of human well-being. If you're talking about prosperity, if you're talking about personal freedom, being able to speak your mind, safety, all of that, it's clearly the pinnacle of human civilization. It is so far removed from how people used to live a couple of hundred years ago, they wouldn't be able to imagine the present future. That's the inflection point. That's what Trump is offering the world, right? He's offering the question and the opportunity, right? What do you want to be? Do you want to just die? Right? Do you want to go off a cliff? Do you want managed decline? Do you want civilizational masochism? Do you want poverty? Do you want authoritarianism? Do you want totalitarianism? Or do you want to recognize that you got something good going on, right? Maybe it's time to restore that. Double down on that. Double down on the things that actually work. Stop lying about yourself. So that's the offer. And the rest of it is, the tariffs, all of that. Well, you know what? Every Western country should have the Trump energy, should be looking out for itself. First and foremost, every leader of every country should be looking out for their own people first and foremost. Now, Canada, with a sane government, will come to a mutually beneficial agreement with Trump. We know how Trump works. It's all in the art of the deal, right? Comes out with the fire and the brimstone and the fire and the fury, right? And the shock and awe. And then it comes down to something ultimately reasonable that everybody can live with. That's what's going to happen with a reasonable government. With Mark Carney, I think you can just write Canada's economy off at that point. We're out of first world status at that point with his insane plans. But to me, that is why Trump is so important. That's why he's such a central figure in history, in modern history. And he will be considered that in the future because he is the inflection point for Western civilization. Is it either going to die or is it going to double down? And is it going to renew itself? And is there going to be a modern Western Renaissance? That's the question. We don't know which is going to happen, but all right. Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful. He's not a humble man, Kevin O'Leary. This is wildly popular because we have a unique situation. You've got Elon Musk with his own international broadcast network. He goes into these agencies and 48 hours later puts out a list of crazy stuff. People see it all around the world. Maybe Musk is the figure that actually saves Western civilization by saving free speech, by tipping the scales just enough towards free speech for the United States to renew itself and renew its confidence in itself and its sanity, in fact.
Kevin, what do you make of what President Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE have managed to not just uncover, but claw back and stop in just a matter of weeks?
This is wildly popular because we have a unique situation. You've got Elon Musk with his own international broadcast network. He can publish anything he wants on it any time. He goes into these agencies, 48 hours later, puts a list of crazy stuff like you just detailed. People see it all through the U.S. and around the world and say, this is nuts. And it just fuels what else is out there. So what's happening here has never happened before. He could only do this with the power of the executive behind him because all of the people that are managing these mandates and these programs are being embarrassed by this. Whether you just got the job or whether you were there in the Biden administration, Elon doesn't care who you are. He just publishes it anyways, and then it's all over your face. There's a lot of tension going on here with the management of these programs, and particularly when we start talking with the FAA and the Pentagon. I mean, oh, baby, wait till that one comes out, because that is always going to be a black hole saying, well, it's for defense, and I can't tell you what it's for. But now there's accountability. There's so much fat dripping off these chickens. This is the best barbecue I've ever seen.
Yeah, and unsurprisingly, the transparency is popular in the United States. People actually do want to know, no matter how much teleprompter readers tell them, no, you can't know, it's bad for you. They still want to know. In fact, it just makes them want to know even more, doesn't it? So, yeah, it says here, DOGE could be remembered as Trump's biggest achievement. It could be. Elon is another central figure, like Trump. He's maybe the biggest figure behind Trump, really. Because who else would have the balls to do what, other than Trump, what Elon has been doing, right? He's been putting a target on himself intentionally for years now. And knowing the risk. He put the target on himself while Biden was still in power. So he knew. I mean, and then just writing it out, laughing with memes, with jokes. It's pretty inspiring, actually, right? Just laughing his way through the whole thing. Pretty awesome. And that's appealing to a lot of people. And you know what else is appealing to a lot of people? Not wanting to waste money on fraud and insane radical leftist ideology overseas. That's appealing as well, I think. Let's see. Here's Victor Davis Hanson. We love some VDH on this channel. J.D. Vance was telling the European silent majority that the elite has failed, and when they fail, they censor. So talking about Germany, and obviously J.D. Vance went and told the European leaders what he thought of their authoritarianism and their censorship and their attempts to criminalize dissent. And we've seen the 60 Minutes segment where the 60 Minutes host there just seems thrilled with the insane creeping totalitarianism that Germany just can't seem to get away from. They just seem to want it for some reason. But anyway, here's Victor Davis Hanson talking about it.
Victor, why should Americans be concerned about what's going on with free speech in Europe?
Well, they're our partner in Western civilization, and they're our ally. We have 70,000 troops there. But more importantly, we're losing Europe. And J.D. Vance's speech wasn't just directed at the ministers, nor even the MAGA crowd at home. It was really to the silent majority in Europe. And what he was saying was, this elite has failed. And anytime you fail, that's when you start to censor. They failed on the border, on the economy, on energy, on immigration, on defense. And so in their failure, they try to stifle all forms of dissent and free expression. And he was trying to give encouragement to all the people of Europe who know that and want to rise up. And that's why they hate him so much. You know, Miss Brennan didn't understand that when the Nazis came to power and they started to outlaw free speech, one of the mechanisms they used was to say it was the German equivalent of disinformation or hate speech or misinformation. That's how it always happens. Usually censorship is the twin of failure. When you're failing, you cannot stand the light of criticism.
And it's so remarkable to me that so many members of the media don't understand the basics of what you just said right there. Listen to Brian Stelter from CNN talking about this.
It's not really about free speech. It's about speech that is favored versus disfavored. And in the case of the president now, it's a kind of like old speak versus new speak, to borrow a phrase from George Orwell's 1984. He wants to do away with old speak. He's trying to erase certain language, and he's trying to promote and favor other language.
Do you think he actually read 1984?
No, you know, the problem with all that rhetoric is they never give a single example. Why don't they just tell us this is exactly what Donald Trump did? He used the government to do what? Case, point, time, location. They never do. It's just all blowhard megaphone. And they can't. And they don't realize, again, that Joe Biden did more to harm free speech than almost anybody. And he did it because he had a failed agenda and people were speaking out against it. And that's why the FBI began to partner with Facebook. That's why 51 intelligence authorities started to lie on national TV to suppress dissent about the authenticity of the laptop. That was the whole point about the Russian collusion hoax. They wanted to suppress free speech because their agenda was failing. And that's what's happening in Europe. And they know that there's a populist, nationalist blowback coming. And J.D. Vance wants to assure people that we are the friend of the real Europe, not the pseudo-Europe, not the pseudo-elite that's hijacked the continent the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we've seen, actually, is just stuff that's being replayed from the past or from literature. 1984, doublethink, we see that. Absolutely, right? Gender is not fixed, but also a 5-year-old can definitely be the opposite gender. Total incoherence. We've been witnessing a now staggering Maoist cultural revolution, just borrowed straight from China. That's what we've been witnessing, right? You can even trace some of it back to the Jacobins of the French Revolution. Political correctness was a Soviet term. Right? All of this stuff is borrowed. It's borrowed from Bolsheviks and Chinese communists in 1984. It's quite amazing, actually. But he says they know there's a populist nationalist blowback coming, and J.D. Vance wants to assure people that we are the friend of the real Europe, not the pseudo-Europe, not the pseudo-elite that's hijacked the continent the last 20 years. Yeah, that's the message. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Trump represents an inflection point for Western civilization. Is it going to destroy itself in just an orgy of masochism and self-loathing? Or is it going to have a renaissance, a modern Western renaissance where where Western civilization reasserts itself, its values like free speech, individuality, free markets, financial freedom, and also just a pride in the accomplishments of Western civilization, or just a recognition that, okay, these have been good things, a recognition that Western civilization is obviously by far the pinnacle of human well-being in all of history, and including still right now. Still, the radical leftists are trying to change that, but even still, you'd rather be in, say, Canada than communist China. Because, Canada isn't a totalitarian state yet, as close as it's actually gotten with Trudeau, right? Not yet. So Trump represents that inflection point for countries like Canada. Which way do we want to go? Do we want to just throw it all away? Or do we want to double down and say, no, we're on the right track with this stuff. It's worked. It's better. We don't want to be poor and miserable and oppressed by globalist elites that hate us. Or at the very best, are totally indifferent to us, to our well-being. Anyway, see, that's why we like some VDH on this channel. What's going on here? From Gibberish Fauché, this woman says MAGA men are so screwed, and she is delighted about it. You can tell by her giggle and her eyes that the thought of conservative men suffering just tickles her. Oh, God. Is that a woman? I don't know. Kind of looks like Benny Hill.
MAGA men are so screwed. Who's going to serve you? Who's going to do your laundry, clean your house? Make sure the bills are paid. I mean, you may bring...
Do they let you have a phone in a mental asylum now? I don't know. I guess so.
Home the money, but, the one that makes sure the bills are paid is the woman. Who's going to take care of your kids? Who's going to drive your kids to school? Who's going to cook? Yeah, because, when they take antidepressants away from women... You better run.
Did that make any sense? I couldn't make the slightest bit of sense. I could barely understand what she was saying. I do have a button though on my soundboard that I can press. Maybe this will clear it up. I don't know. That didn't make a lick of sense to me. Hold on a second. Hold on. Wait a second. That's not the right one. Let's see. There we go.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
Was she a great big fat person?
Yes, Silence of the Lambs. Yes, she was. Fembot says, I thought I said no more whales. Let's see. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? Rosie's saying, James O'Keefe was on assignment over the weekend. Should be interesting what they come up with. It always is. Let's see. Let's see. Spambot says, if Carney becomes PM, the G7 will become the G6. And as Canada will become a third world hellhole. That is what's at stake. Like, I'm looking at his policies. I'm reading his book. And he is a blind ideologue. Like, his policies will impoverish Canada. There's no question. They can't do anything else. Like, no sane person would advocate for the things that he wants to do. Not somebody who actually cared about the Canadian people. Let's see. What's going on here? Let's see. Dramus is saying, I've got a troubled mind. Troubled mind. Well, that's true. That's fair. Tough, but fair. All right, let's skip to the end here. Let's see. JDL asks, who's saying somebody's watching me? That was, well, it was actually Michael Jackson who sang it, but it was, the name of the guy was Rockwell. But Michael Jackson sang that somebody's watching me part. But the song was by Rockwell. All right. The ventilator says these fugly people, pardon me, these fugly people just need someone to love them, but they are so insufferable pity. It's weird, like the smugness, and she thinks she's so clever. It's just weird, right? It's so weird. It's so misguided. Let's see. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. We already saw those. Let's see if there's something light, or else we're going to call it a night, I think. All right, I think we're going to leave it because I'm tired now. I got a bit of a headache. And I think it's time to Nawada says Rockwell is correct. That's what I thought. All right. Let's see. Hold on one second. So I wanted to see how many people saw us on that. Went to X tonight. 24. Is that 24 live or 24 that watched it? I don't know. I don't know what that is. It might be 24 live right now. I don't know. All right. Spambot says, have a good night, everyone. That's a good way to end it. Thank you to the chat. You guys are awesome. Especially thanks to Freedix for that $100. That was sweet. I like that. My greed is feeling all warm and comfortable right now. It's lovely. But thanks to the chat. You guys are awesome. You guys are, as I always say, you guys are half the show now. If it wasn't for you guys, I probably would not even bother doing this because it would be super boring. And I would feel like I was only talking to myself, but I know that I'm not because I've got the Rumble chat here. So thanks, you guys. And everybody have a great week. And we will see you on Friday. I'm sure there'll be lots of crazy stuff going on Friday. We'll do one of the very last. It'll be like, well, I don't know, the second or third last. Grok versus Trudeau. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll try to remember to do some, is it racist? You know what I'm talking about. Some of the segments we don't really do much of anymore, like this.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Or we'll get Grok to do some pictures. Because Grok's getting better. They just released Grok 3. And it's getting better at doing what I want it to do. So that could be fun as well. But and I'll try and find lots of memes. If you guys find funny memes, send them through X, but they've got to be X, like on X. Otherwise, it's just a big problem. It's a big hassle for me. So if you find something on X that's funny memes about anything really, or just funny comedians, whatever, because I want to make sure we've got enough stuff so we can take a little break with some funny stuff, some lighthearted stuff. Send it to Radio Baloney on X, and I will remember to look there before I start the live stream on Friday. And I will put it up and we can all look at it and we can share it with other people. And it'll be super fun and we'll all have an excellent time. All right. But thanks, you guys. Thanks for showing up. I do appreciate it so much. And everybody have a great week. We'll see you Friday.